On the occasion of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav and 75th Independence Day, I wish you all happy Independence Day in advance. We at VESIT are organizing VREACH, which is Alumni Engagement Program. Our today's talk is on the topic A Journey Internship to Placement Offers. Large number of VESIT computer engineering students receive internships and pre-placement opportunities. Students complete their internships during the semester end vacation period. Through VRC cell, the institute also provides internal internships. Our training and placement cell as well as alumni assist the students in obtaining internships in reputed companies. Our student Arnav Bakshi and Sujit Kumar Singh received the highest salary packages of 29 lakhs and 33 lakhs through off-campus internships in Commonwealth and PayPal. Today, Arnav will be conducting the session for you all, and I am very sure that you all will be benefited from today's talk. Thank you.
So we have a special announcement. Our panelist, Mr. Arnav Bakshi, is going to be joining us for a live where he'll be answering your questions in person. So make sure to stay back and avail this opportunity of having your doubts cleared by our esteemed panel. I'm sure most of you already know him, but for those who don't, he passed out in the year 2022. He interned at BPCL as a network and security engineer. He was a research assistant at Wisconsin School of Business. As a student, he was the GitHub Campus expert, the AWS Educate Ambassador, the Microsoft Learn Ambassador, and the student lead of CodeCell. Despite all of this, he somehow managed to take out the time to work on cool projects like AI model for epidemiology of tuberculosis and a student management system. Welcome, Arnav. Thank you for taking out the time to be with us today. Before we start, how did you manage to do so much in the little time that you had?
Thank you, Yashvi. That was a very warm and generous welcome. So like most of these things started happening from second year onwards. Like that is like coinciding with when COVID struck. So when COVID struck, there was like a lot of free time in my hands. So I had like interest in various areas. So one thing led to other, and this is how things started happening. And at the end of the journey, like 4 years like passed by, look back and you see there so many things happen. But it was one step at a time, like you do this, you do that, one thing leads to the other. So that's how like all these things happen.
Okay, that's cool. So when did you start your journey? If you could give us like a brief overview and maybe include your stipend and the package that you were offered, because that's what most students would be interested in.
Yeah, sure. So when did I start? I started like at the end of second year. That's when I started like prepping. Like I made a plan, because I decided I was going to sit for placements and like not be giving GRE at the moment, and like not be giving any exams and going for further studies at the moment. So that is when I started studying seriously at the end of second year, start of third year. And the journey, it was still a very long journey. Like I got my placement in fourth year, second sem. So like last sem, I got my placement and so yeah, that's like a period of around 1.5 years, like somewhere around that time. And well, stipends pretty interesting because like that's what's the most attractive part of getting placed. So there there are two parts to that. So like the stipend, one is when you're intern. So when you're intern, you're still in college, you're still a student, and you're working with the company. So that time the stipend was between 42 to 45K per month, right? So that's like a standard stipend, and it's a pretty standard stipend for product-based companies. Like that's the range it is in. And once you convert the internship, you like get a full-time offer from the company. Then the stipend is actually not stipend. It's like your package is like broken into. There are multiple components to it, but like the main two components are one is called the base and one is called the additional, right? So additional is like RSUs are like stock units which are vested over the years, which is like basically long-term incentive for the employees to stay. Like they'll give you like certain amount of stocks of the company, and like that will be in your name. Like that's as an incentive for you to stay in your company. And the other is your base package, right? So the base package is like actual salary, which you get at the like the annual salary, right? So both of these are I think they range from anywhere between 14 to 16 lakhs, right? So and so stocks also like mm, you get like couple of stocks when you first join, then like appraisals and all that happens. So all this is later on, like that is not the like point of the view. But yeah, so in a nutshell, that's how the entire stipend package works. Yeah.
Okay, so my next question to you is, should our focus as students be looking for internships or enhancing our skill set for the placement interviews?
So they go hand in hand quite like if you look at it in a granular way. One thing I would like always suggest, like if you're preparing for placements or anything really, be very consistent with the like your knowledge, right? Because that gives you the confidence to like when you appear in the interviews, that gives you confidence on yourself, right? For example, let's say like Python is a language, right? So have command over the language, right? That's my one suggestion. So brushing up your skills can mean n number of things. There are subjects you have to study like DSA, computer networks, algorithms. Then there are also soft skills that you have to practice, right? And I would suggest that don't think that okay, I'm going to study like for 6 months and then I'm going to be ready. So you start applying from day one itself. The ones which don't go well, you take them as learnings, right? Like what went wrong, where is the need for scope for improvement and all that. So one of the biggest mistakes you can do is like for example, in case, especially in case if you're applying off campus, is you start applying too late, right? Like I'm not ready, I've not studied this. So you start applying whenever like you don't wait for yourself to be ready, because you will never feel ready. That's the entirety of it, right? So that's how you go with the thing. So to answer your question, like they go hand in hand. But having said that, like now is the perfect time to develop your skills. You are in college, do bunch of projects, because it's not just DSA. At the end of the day, DSA is going to get you to the door, but you're actually going to have to work on development, right? Because we are not solving DSA questions 24/7. Like that's not how the company is running, right? So yeah, so development is equally important, and like don't sidestep it, because then you'll have to like cover it later on. And like the best time to do it is like with projects in college. Yeah.
So basically, start applying for internships, but at the same time, also develop your skills.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, that's cool. So ideally, how many internships should you do in the 4 years that you have?
So there is no limit on the number of internships you can do. That I know multiple people who have done more internships than me. I know people who have not done a single internship, and then like they have like very good jobs. So that internship metric like is not a very it's for you. The internships you are doing to develop your skills. They make you confident in yourself. They give you exposure to the corporate world. They give you exposure to real life scale projects, huge projects, and you contribute, and that makes your own skill set grow. So internships, you do it for a variety of purposes, right? So that's what like my advice would be to do at least do two internships. And in like there are n number of internships available, like there are n number of good internships available. And like a lot of them like because of COVID, a lot of them have like made it completely online. This is even better for students nowadays, so you don't even have to go to the site and like work. Everything is being done online. So at least try and target to like apply everywhere and like keep brushing your skills. You will eventually get the internship. And the best part about internships is getting the internships is the easiest route to getting an offer, right? Because the more you go ahead, right, the more difficult it becomes. Internships, because the companies also know that you are a college student, and the level of difficulty is not that much as compared to later on.
Okay, right. So, so are internships like really required in your resume when you're going for your placement interview? Do they look for internships that you've done, or is it just like a plus point that you have?
See, that is actually, that depends from interview to interview. Some interviews take your internships very seriously. So whatever you have written in your resume, you should know each and every word of what you did, right? For example, if you say developed and scale an API, right, they will ask you like, what is this you have done? Explain it to me in detail. Like what product feature have you helped, like what product feature have you helped improve? So basically, like they will grill you on your technical know-how. And then other interview, like in other places, they may not care that much about like which internship you have done where. So sorry, pardon. So they it depends from place to place. Some interviews give it a lot of significance, some give it some significance, some don't even look at it. So that's subjective. It depends completely upon the interviewer and his mood that day.
Okay. So, what is the bare minimum? Like, what is the basic skill set that is required before we start looking for an internship? So, like, basically,
So
what? Sorry,
yeah, go ahead.
continue.
No, you complete your question. I'll
Yeah. So, basically, what I'm asking is, what is the bare minimum that we should have done before we step into, like, before we start our journey?
see. First of all, you should don't like do the bare minimum. Like that's my first advice. But I understand what you're trying to ask, and I'll try to answer it. So again, that is also subjective depending on where you're applying, right? So the most common subject which you have to know, like which is a must, is DSA, right? You need to have DSA at the tips of your finger, right? And I don't mean like very tough DSA. The DSA is part of a curriculum. Standard data structures such as linked list, array, strings, trees. These, you should know, be able to like do basic questions easily in the preferred language of your choice, of course, with whatever it is, right? And then after that, like the moment you're thorough with these basic data structures, you're able to, think in those terms of those data structures. You're able to like understand and like which data structure will be applied where. That is the point where you start like that. Like if that's the bare minimum, like yeah, now that is the point where you're ready to successfully start converting interviews. Like that's the first step, right? But again, having said that, like in my personal case, like it was not just DSA, right? So they also asked core computer subjects, the like three core computer subjects, which is computer networks, databases, and operating systems. These are the three core, subjects which again and again come up very often in interviews, especially in new grad positions, because like they know you're a college graduate, right? And these are curriculum topics, so you are expected to know them, and these help you a lot in like when you actually start working also. So yeah, so I would suggest like have a grasp over these subjects. They're already being taught in college. It will not take an extra effort on your behalf. So that plus DSA, like is like when you reach that point, you are ready to start applying. That's the bare minimum, like to put it in your terms.
Thank you. Okay, that makes sense. So, you are a network and security engineer that comes under the domain of cybersecurity, and you have worked on AI projects. So, you've explored various domains. How did you select the domain that you are working in currently, and what advice would you give to someone who's unsure about the domain that they want to get into?
So okay, there are two things to it. One is I would say interest, and the second is availability. Okay, let me talk about interest first. We, as a general rule of thumb, will have like we like some subjects better, right? For example, if I talk about college projects, there are only two like main two kinds of projects. One is like ML, one is development. Like I'm trying to divide in broad terms. There are a lot of them. Pardon. But speaking like in broad terms, like there can be two kinds of projects, right? So maybe I'm interested in ML, right? So I'll do some work on it. I'll gain knowledge. I'll gain a skill set, and then I'll try to uh, figure out internships in that domain. That is one way of doing it. Like you have an interest, you have developed a skill set, and then you start looking for internship. The second is availability, right? There's a good internship available, right? But it may not be particularly in your domain, right? Like you said, cybersecurity, right? So I was like interested in networking, not cybersecurity as a general, but networking. So I applied, and like that's how I got the network and security like internship, right? And as far as my AI project goes, I like that is because I was actually developing Python scripts in that project, right? So like that is my interest in Python was like uh, what led me there. So there are a lot of things you don't always get the best match for your like that's what what I'm trying to convey is like you'll not maybe not get the best fit for your skill set or your interest, right? You always have to like adjust with whatever is available and like what aligns best with your interest. But having said that, like always keep an open mind, right? It's not like ML is the best or like web development is the best, something like that. There's no like absolute. Every field has their own plus points, and like keep an open mind. Explore. We are in college, figure out what piques your interest and try to develop it, like develop in that and get internships in the respective domain.
Okay. So you've given both on-campus and off-campus placement interviews, right? So which would you suggest students to focus on and why?
So that again, that's a very subjective question. So I would say that on-campus placements are relatively easier than off-campus placements because your competition pool is smaller. It's your classmates, right? And off-campus, like there's literally no end to like who can apply, right? So that the pool is much larger, and so the vetting process is equally harder, and uh, like so on and so forth. But having said that, if you're like if you want to go through that process, because off campus also like it gives good results, it higher returns like it can give you. So again, it's entirely subjective. If you want to like have a good placement, college gives a lot of good options. Okay, so there are a lot of good options which come to college, and you can prepare for them. They're like uh, so you have all these like past experiences of students who have sat for that same company in college itself, so you have a fair bit of idea like what the company's tech stack is, what kind of questions they ask, and like you can kind of figure out how to prepare around that kind of scenario. But in off campus, you are going in blind. You understand, like you have to be prepared with anything they can hit you with. So the preparation also looks different in that kind of scenario. So that's what I would suggest. On campus, like if you are if you want a good placement, on campus will get you a good placement undoubtedly. But if you want to like go for the best out there, and if you want to like like yeah, I'm going to work like be ready with anything, so then off campus may be the correct choice for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my next question may be prying a little, but you've done so much, like you managed college and you had an internship. So along with all of that, how did you also manage your social life, like hanging out with friends and all of that?
I mean, so here's the thing, right? It's it looks like a lot, it looks like a lot, but if you manage your time, right, everything is possible. I mean, I don't know how else to phrase it. Like I had a pretty good social life in college. Like I couldn't go to college much of the time. Like that's a sad part. But anyways, my point is that you just have to figure out. You have to give priority to certain things that this thing is important for me right now, and I need to give priority to this and like that. So like you cannot coming to your question, you cannot let your academics slide also. Academics play a very, very important role, especially if you're going for further such studies. They play a very crucial role. So you cannot, do it at the cost of your academics as well. So that's one thing. Like I had taken my academics very lightly in the first year, but like later on I picked it up. So that's what my point being is like just put the things on priority. Things which are not a priority, just don't waste time on them. Like that's entirely how you make time for everything. And yeah, I think that's my
Okay.
answer. Yeah.
Uh, and okay, so my next question is, do recruiters like consider your pointer? Like once you pass the criteria of the pointer that you're supposed to have, does it really matter if you have a 7 pointer or a 9 pointer?
No. So I mean, it's not a hard no again, as like most questions here. This is also subjective, but in my experience and like all my friends and everybody who's applied, pointer in that case is mostly a qualifying like benchmark. You either you're in or you're out. After that pointer, it's not like they will give priority to the higher pointers, or just because you have somewhat lower point, they will like not give you interview or something like that. Most of the cases, it is just a qualifying barrier. In further studies, it does carry a lot of weight. Like minute differences between pointer can like make or break the admission process.
So that's true for on-campus and off-campus placements, right?
Off campus, so the thing about off campus is they are not as strict about as on campus about pointers also. Like for example, I don't think like they explicitly ask your pointer up like when you're applying. They sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So that also depends. It's subjective from company to company. Some pretty good companies don't ask for pointers, as long as you're a graduate or you're gonna graduate without any backlog, like that kind of a scenario. So having said that, that doesn't imply that like you should not take pointers seriously. I cannot stress enough how important pointer is. But having said that, a reasonable pointer, like maintaining somewhere between 8 and 9, like that is the sweet spot. So if you can maintain it there, then I don't think there are going to be any issues.
Okay. And
Yeah.
does the company where you've done the internship matter? Like if it's a startup that nobody knows compared to something that is maybe famous, maybe more well known, does that make a difference?
Well, okay, so this is a it does in some ways. Like for example, like if you did it at a relatively unknown startup, then the work there, like what you did there matters, right? Because the company is unknown, right? But if you work for a big company, right, so that tag, it gives you brownie points like that, because obviously you have cracked a big company, and that is just proof of testament that this person is qualified up to a certain level because you have cracked the company to do an internship. So then in that scenario, it means a different case. Like it's, but as such, like you will not get rejected because of like, because you're doing it from an unknown place, or you will not get accepted because you did it from a very known place. Like that is the like thing about off campus at least.
Okay. So
Yeah.
before we finish, my last question to you is, what advice would you give to a student who would want to follow in your footsteps?
Well, I would, okay, yeah. So I would give you a couple of advices. Number one, just be consistent. Like I did not study day and night. God knows I can't do that. I'm way too distracted for that. But like give it some time. Like, set aside 1 hour in the day and like just do 2 DSA questions. Like that's enough to get you, like if you start now, so that 2 DSA questions every day, even 1 DSA question, and you read about like a little bit about your subjects, that is going to be enough to cover your placements, like if you're in second year right now, in that kind of scenario. So be consistent in your effort. Don't need to like like, oh my god, placement is coming 1 month ago, and we like all start preparing on that. Like, don't take that tension only, right? Because this is it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, right? My second advice would be like, be patient. These things take a long amount of time, especially if you are going for off campus. On campus, well, like the company lets you know within a week at max, right? Mostly you get to know the results instantaneously. Sorry, my bad. But like the on-campus process is much, much, much faster to compared to the off-campus process, right? And yeah, be patient. Like things take months to move on, right? Don't give up hope. Like at certain times, like that happens a lot. So don't give up hope. And third would be enjoy your time, like placements and all, good placements and all will come. Don't like, stress out your entire college life worrying about placements and all that. Just like take care of your pointers, be consistent, like do a little amount of effort every day. And that's it. I mean, that will lead you to like such great results. Like that's it. That's the entirety of the like, what I did. So yeah, and also feel free to reach out to me on like LinkedIn or wherever. Like if you want to personally reach out to me for anything, I'm always like available on LinkedIn. So yeah, you can do that also.
Okay. Thank you so much, Arnav. That
Thank
was
you,
it from my
Yashvi.
side. Is there anything that you would like to add?
Well, like I genuinely like wanted to spend the last at least like if not the last year, the last semester online, but like I think it was very unfortunate. Like we got around just like a month or something, at the end, uh, that we could have offline. And I really missed those fests, like I conducted like one or two offline fests, and that's where my interest, like actually that's where I first started working for Codecell. So those were the like amazing parts of college which I miss a lot. Like so like you guys, like, you guys are lucky the college has started again. So enjoy, have fun, take part in fest, take part in everything, like explore everything. That's all. That's my suggestion. And have fun. That's it,
Okay, that was really cool. Thank you so much, Arnav, for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, Ashri. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Hi Ashwi, thank you for having me here. Like delighted to be here. So, like here, I'm assuming you're asking like whether like having Java as your main programming language is like a good thing. So, Java and C++, these are age-old. This it's always a safe bet with Java and C++. Python can somewhat be dicey because like some companies don't prefer Python, and like you can move towards the testing like tester side of things. So, being a Java full stack developer is an absolutely safe choice. Like 9 out of 10 companies will be like more than happy to have a Java first drive. Same goes for C++. And like my advice here would be like don't go for the vague ones. Like for example, Go, Rust. These are still emerging. Like they're there. They have the niche spots, but like Java and C++, they are like safe bets because they have such large uh, projects already. Yeah. Okay, yeah, sure. So this is a really good question. In fact, like this is gonna pop up more. So my advice here would be number one, don't self-reject. Like even if the like when you're applying, it says it's offline. You have like certain hours. Don't self-reject, right? The maximum that can happen is like because of compatibility issues, you won't like be given the offer, but like it will still give you a confidence boost if you crack the interview. That's number one advice. Like don't self-reject. My second advice would be like, so this has happened multiple times, and usually HR is very accommodating, especially for internships. You can have a talk. See, because here you need to manage your college as well, you need to manage your internship as well. So here you have to come to some sort of compromise with the HR, and you have to manage your college like. At the same time so that the things don't interfere, and a lot of people have done it, and like that happens. That's the next step. That is, once you get the offer, you figure out with the HR, you sit down and you like, you say these are restrictions, and like I'm free to uh, work on these days, and like so a lot of people have done that. Like so, you may have slightly odd hours, like maybe towards the evening or something like that. But like most companies are accommodating, especially like the ones which are fully remote. They will like your work hours there. They will be very accommodating with that, like remote internships.
Okay, so I heard some concerns that I was not audible. So am I audible right now? Like not to you, to the YouTube live chat. Okay, thank you. So, just to repeat, the first question was, is being a Java full stack developer good for our profile? जिस पे Arnav's answer was that Java and C++ are age-old languages. So that was the first question, just for context. And the second question was, any tips on how to manage internships with college now that it is offline? Since most of us have applied for online and found that they are full-time opportunities. So basically, time management. So if that's
Yeah.
clear, we'll be moving on. So the next question is, what is the right time to apply for an internship and what basic skills are required to apply for an internship?
Okay, so like I'll suggest you that there is no right time, right? So you can start applying from right now. The one thing which is very important is like you will never feel completely ready. Like you will never feel like, yeah, now I'm ready for internships. So the moment you have like grasp over the basic like DSA topics, be it like array, linked list, and all that, I would suggest you start applying like without thinking a lot, because the first thing like you need to do is apply a lot, especially if you're going off campus. You need to apply a lot, right? So the interviews which come, you take them as practice runs. Like sometimes you don't get through, sometimes you get through, so you take all of it as a learning experience, right? So there is no right time. The right time is when you like believe it's the right time. But if you want me to give you a time frame, I started applying somewhere like in the early mid half of my seventh sem. So that is when I started applying. So if you want to use that as a time frame, like you can use that.
Okay. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. The next question is by Aditya Khetwani. How did you find off-campus job openings? Any platforms that you used and any tips from you that can be useful for us going off campus?
Okay, yeah, sure. Definitely a very good question. So, the first thing which comes to mind is like when you apply off campus is job portals. But my suggestion would be like if you are going to apply via job portal, don't apply directly. Get referrals. Message five people like from the company. Hey, like I'm interested in this. Make a nice LinkedIn message and send it to them. Send a connection request. And more often than not, people will be more like happy to refer you because there is an like most referral programs have an incentive bonus for the person who's referring, right? So here's a win-win situation, so like they have nothing to lose. And the worst that could happen is like your message is not seen, they don't respond to your message, and that's fine. That's why you message like multiple people for the same thing. Like you message like if you there's one role you're interested, you message five people, from one of them will get back to you and refer you for the role. That is number one. Like if you're going through job portals. Second is like be very active on these job portal sites, especially LinkedIn, right? Like in like the create your network, like like reach out to a lot of people because in this particular this season, like August going forward, like companies will have their own hiring drives and people post about this, like they'll send put Google Docs up and this, and that is, as I feel like in my personal experience, that is the more effective way to do it. Like be active on LinkedIn, figure out who's posting jobs, and like individual people will be posting the that yeah, we have this requirements, like be it for internship, be it for full time, be it for this. So that is actually like a smaller pool, because the number of people who see it on LinkedIn will be less, and your chances of getting the actual assessment and the interview is higher.
Yeah, okay,
So
so
yeah,
so yeah, that makes so much sense. Thank you. But
yeah.
there are many people asking for portals or site names where they can apply. Like they don't know where to go. So if you could
So
suggest.
see there. Okay, so in my personal suggestion, like in my personal, sorry, not suggestion, in my personal experience, if you, I am assuming you're talking about job portal sites like
Yeah,
Naukri and all that.
internship portal sites or job portal sites. Yeah.
Yeah, so in my own experience, and even Hirect, I think is like really popular nowadays. But so there are like first of all there are classes of sites, right? For example, AngelList is there, and like most of them like focus on startups and all. Like so, if you are interested in a particular domain, if you want to like find a startup which has which is working on a technology you're very really interested, so that is the route you have to suggest you to go. I personally haven't tried it myself because like it's not been that effective in my experience. But again, having said that, like it's the same thing with like job postal sites and this thing. LinkedIn is the most effective network tool out there. Like LinkedIn is as good as any other job posting site, and where like people are also active, right? For example, on these job portal sites, only the recruiters will be there, but on the other hand, like the employees of the company are also present on LinkedIn, right? So your chances of like networking and like actually getting the interview process is much higher. So that's my take on it. Like it can differ from person to person. Like I don't have much experience with portal sites like that to answer that particular question.
Okay, so you found your internship on LinkedIn.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I'm like
Okay.
this thing. So even apart from that, like even apart from my own personal LinkedIn, there are a lot. Like my personal experience with LinkedIn has been very positive, as in sense you get some sort of feedback, like you get some sort of response from the other end, which in most job portal sites, like either they auto reject you or they will like after 1 or 2 years you'll get a rejection. Sorry, this position's been filled, which is like of no use to me right now, right? So like the timing is also like a bit this thing. So that's why LinkedIn like number one.
Okay, so our now suggestion is LinkedIn, just to make it clear.
Yeah.
So Rakshit asks, even if you are qualified enough for off-campus logistics, how much does being at the right place at the right time weigh?
Okay. So here's the thing, right? Like when I was like in the process, and I think even before me, like few people who were there. So most of it was online. So logistics was really not an issue, right? Having said that, companies have started realizing that being online is like favorable for them also because they don't have to like go on campuses and interview and all. Especially I'm talking about this. This is like especially off campus. So like if you look at like the big technology companies, all of their like interviews are being held online. On-site interviews, like mostly on-site interviews, start to occur when like you are at like a little bit higher or a little bit more experience. Then the on-site interviews come. But for like new grad positions, most of it is like 90% of it is online. And even if it is offline, like you will have to go just for one day to on site. Like that's the thing. So don't worry about being in the right place at the right time. Like that is just a lucky thing. Like you, that's beyond your control. You cannot do anything about it. Like whether you saw the posting, whether you did not see the posting, that is something beyond your this thing. But be active on like wherever you are searching for your jobs, wherever you want to apply. Be active on whatever platform it is that you prefer.
Okay. So the next question is by Himesh. He is asking, are off-campus job openings more beneficial? What are the basic skill set or programming languages required for it?
Okay. So I'll take the second half first, and then I'll like answer your first half of the question. Now, what is the basic skill set? The basic skill set is like to put it in a very simple way, programming. You should know programming, right? And there are multiple aspects to programming. You can be very good at development. You can be very good at DSA, right? But my own suggestion would be like keep a healthy mix of the two. Like have some development experience, have experience with frameworks in whatever language you are working on. Like if it is Python, be familiar with Django and Flask, right? If it is Java, like be familiar with the Maven and Spring Boot. Like, so you get the idea, right? Like whatever language you are doing, be familiar with some of the frameworks. And the number one benefit, like to answer your question very simply, the number one benefit is like the compensation and like the opportunities like are significantly more in off campus, right? So like in on campus you're restricted to whatever companies is going to visit your campus that particular year. But off campus, the world is your oyster. You can apply to whichever company you want, whichever tech stack you appeal to. So then that is on you. The onus gets on you instead of the company. So that is your effort. So that's the main benefit, I would say, of applying off campus. I hope I answered your question correctly. Like I hope that's what you were asking for. Yeah.
Yeah, so the next question is interesting. Devangana asks, what are the type of questions that they can ask a college student in the interviews?
Okay. Really good question. So, first of all, you have to know that they like this. You have to get this in your head. They want you to be a part of the company. Like they're not your enemies. They are just like they're there to help you uh, get across. So that is number one. Second is the type of questions which they can ask. They also know you are a college grad. Nobody's expecting like an expert level domain knowledge on anything. They are going to ask you what you like. Number one is DSA. DSA is like a must. Like 99.9% of the companies will be will be asking DSA, and even if they don't, DSA is good for building your own logic. Like it's a way of thinking. Like you develop your like how to solve problems in an effective manner. So that's what DSA is there for. Apart from that, there are core subjects like which are being taught in college, right? Which is computer networks, operating system, and DBMS, which is database management. So these three subjects, they're like especially in new grad positions and internship, they ask questions from this, especially DBMS. They will ask you to write a query, and it's not like it's going to be a like very difficult question or something. It would be like, what are the 7 layers of OSI? And what like write an SQL query to find the second, like if you're given an employee and salary, write a query to find the second highest salary. So easy questions, not like really tough, but you have to have your basic concepts about these subjects clear. So yeah, that would be my take on that.
Right, okay. So basically, they won't ask very difficult questions, but they'll just
They
check.
they won't, yeah, but your basics should be clear. The basic concept should be clear.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. So the next question is, how much does your tech stack compatibility matter?
Oh, okay. Really good question. So that is also subjective from company to company. Some companies, like which mostly larger in nature, they are more than happy to take you like whatever your tech stack is. They will figure out some spot for you. But like for more niche companies, tech stack compatibility is actually one of the issues. That if your tech stack is not compatible with what the company's requirements are, there is a chance that they will not proceed with you in that. So tech stack compatibility is. But again, having said that, you can never go wrong with C++ and Java like that. Those are like two main good language. Python is also really good. Python is like undoubtedly an easier base. But like for if you are aiming to be, especially if you are aiming to be like a software development engineer, right, or full stack developer, Java and C++ are generally the most recommended options.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it important to be in part of various societies? Like, will that have an effect on your selection chances? So, yeah, so
Okay,
basically,
so
what
yeah.
are extracurriculars of the college?
Yeah. So first of all, they're important for you. Like you should also enjoy your time in college. Like don't look at everything from placements angle. Like the you enjoy your life in like campus. You take part in co-curricular societies not because it maybe it will help you to get placements, but because you genuinely want to you enjoy taking part in activities. But that is number one. Secondly, it kind of demonstrates like whatever work you do there, demonstrate leadership skills, it demonstrate teamwork skills. So these kind of things, these extracurricular things are important for your how do I put this? They're important to show the other side of you as a
Yeah,
person,
your
right? Like
overall
because
development, right?
yeah. So like skills as the part of thing, but you as a human being, like what are your other social skills? Like you should be able to communicate, you should be able to lead, and all those. So those things can be demonstrated by like participating in co-curricular, and these are fun. Like like go for them. Don't think twice before like joining a society. Like you will have fun. Like that's the thing. Yeah.
Okay, and Arnav, did you give an interview for your internship and how was your experience?
Of course, I gave an interview for an internship. Like, I really doubt like they give out internships or even offers based on resumes. Like, there's some sort of interviews always there. Pardon, I didn't catch the second half of the question. Like,
How
what
was
was
your
that?
experience, like the interview experience?
Okay, it was grilling. It was really grilling. Like, the interviews, like they have like multiple rounds. Like I think there were 5 rounds in this particular case, and each round is an elimination round, right? And like there's a period of like there's a gap, like where where like of 1 hour between when you finish writing and they announce the results. So it's very like it's a very panicky affair. But again, having said that, you should be always confident in your skills. Like if you are confident in like you have done your preparation, right? You will get through. Like new grad positions are not that difficult. But having said that, like depending on the level of the company you're going for, the interviews can go like higher end level. So that would be my suggestion. Like don't expect that it's going to be all rosy and all that. Some interviews can be really grueling, right? They will ask you like questions on any topic under the sun, like like how does this work, like even network questions and database questions. So no hard and fast rule like that. Like every person's interview experience differs, but yes, internship. And having said that, internship interviews are one of the easier ones, right? So the like it goes like that. Like if you go for full time, it is going to be slightly more difficult. If you're like if you have experience and then you're trying to switch, so it will be even more difficult. So like as and when you get more experience, the level of difficulty increases.
Right, okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
The next question is, what duration of internship is worth experiencing? I think what he means to say is like what internship duration should you prefer, 1 month, 3 months, or 6 months?
Okay. So first of all, like, here's the thing, right? I don't think like most internships, like you get to decide the duration. Like they set the duration and you apply for it. Like that is kind of a given. Having said that, 6 months, the internships which are 6 months, they are usually like very good for converting to full time because they are intended like that. Like you get like an internship experience, and that kind of internship experience is like sort of training you for the job as well. Like so you they don't have to train you when you graduate and spend more time on that. So it's a company's like benefit also, like and you are also doing it, like the workload isn't that much. You can easily do it with college and all that. So it's a win-win kind of situation. So 6 months one, they are the best kind of interviews. But having said that, it's not necessary. My own interview, my own internship, it was for like 3 months because I applied late. Like that is also there's a thing now. So 6 months is there. Like 6 months is the safest bet to go. Like especially if you want to increase your chances of like getting a full time offer from that company.
Right, okay. And
Yeah.
Atrey asks, what is your suggestion for people who want to start with DSA?
My suggestion would be like don't look at DSA like as a mountain which you have to climb. Like just like try to get over the like one step at a time. Like arrays, start solving easy array questions, and then go on to medium. Like go topic wise. Then you have linked lists, right? You start and you do as many questions as you can. Try to like get the feel of how the data structure is, like especially in your language. And like if you are practicing using some like Geeks for Geeks lead code or anything like that, so you can always like build your confidence by doing related questions. You solve one question, you feel very happy, right? You can solve another related question, which will increase your knowledge. Okay, it will give you more clarity, right? And trust me, DSA is like it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You have to take it like you do solve two questions and read upon it. If you're not able to solve it, look at the solution. But like try to be consistent at DSA. Like that's what is going to help you in the long run. So that would be my advice for people who are starting out on DSA.
Okay, so basically just start practicing, start
Just
solving
start
questions.
practicing. Yes, just practice, be consistent, and DSA like obviously like from day one, it's not you're not gonna be like a expert and all this thing. But look at yourself like 3 months down the line, like you see how far you've come, and it's not like it takes a huge amount of effort, like you're studying day and night. Just be consistent in your effort. That's the entirety of it.
Okay, and
Yeah.
then Japneet asks, did you apply for internship at FANG? If yes, then did you get any progress? Mine is stuck under review first stage. I applied for with referrals, tried to perfect my resume with experience and projects.
Okay, really good question. So yeah, like similarly to this thing, I actually so I have gotten interviews at Fan. Like I think two fan companies have got an interview, but unfortunately, like at that the moment when I got the interview, I was in the middle of like logistics, like became an issue. I was middle of relocating to another city and all that. So like I deferred my interview. Like I said that I'll not be applying this time. Maybe in the future, like I might apply again. So that is a different question. Again, having like to like from what you asked, your question was like your progress seems stuck. So that is there. Like a lot of times it will get stuck at like a very like first review, second review, something like that, and it will not proceed. So these things are like that. You just have to keep on applying. Like just because you have applied once doesn't mean that there's a sure shot this thing of you getting it. Keep applying multiple times until you get to that interview stage. Once you get to the interview stage, then it's a sure shot offer. Like yeah, you don't need to have multiple interviews. Like if you do well, you will be given the offer. Like that's my suggestion on it. And fan companies like have decent projects, have decent GPA, have a decent like they look for overall well developed. They want you to be like a well developed personality. So have some extracurriculars over there. So and as far as fans get like 10,000 resumes every day, what is going to make you stand out? And that's just referral at the end of the day. It makes the job easier for the recruiter. Like it's nothing like the person who didn't get the referral is like worse or something. It's just that referrals make the like pool smaller and makes the job for the recruiter easier. So keep applying with referrals. Like that would be my suggestion. If you like that increases your chances. There's no backside of like there's no harm of like going for a referral.
Okay, and Shreya asks, what should we focus on more, internships or open source projects in the second year?
See, you are in second year. Try to focus on your subjects. My this thing. DSA is something which you should try to do daily. Okay, don't look at it like I'll start preparing for it from 8, 7, 7, 6, 7, 5, 7, 7. Don't like you don't need to give it a lot of time. Maybe 1 hour in a day, 2 hours in a day. Especially if you're second year, 1 hour, 2 hours. By the time you have placements, you will be really good at DSA. That is the thing. You look at it as the long run, right? And secondly, goes to open source projects. If you can, like contribute to open source projects, that's a huge brownie points. Some companies they evaluate a lot. Like you have started contributing to open source, and if you can get into one of the open source programs, be it GSOC, be it Outreachy, be it I don't know. I think Linux Foundation has one. So any one of these ones, if you can get it does add a lot of weight to your resume. So yeah, that would be my suggestion. If you can crack that, try to get one of those open source internships.
Okay, so get open source internships.
Yeah, so GSOC and all this, like they have open source internship. Then like these things, you'll find it scattered all over the internet. And like I think we have multiple alumni in our campus as well. Like I think you can reach out to them as well. They will be able to guide you much better on how to navigate this. Yeah.
So this is a question about masters. The
Yeah.
question is, when should we start preparing for GRE or any other related exams? Like during which semester?
So a masters again, if you're going for masters, I think third sem is like the like you want to confirm it by your third, not sorry, sem, third year, right? Third year, you should start preparing for third year. So one advantage of that is like first of all, if if things go wrong, if you don't achieve the result you want, you have multiple chances. You can apply once, you can give GRE once, you can give GRE twice. That is one thing about masters. So like do it third year, fourth year onwards. It's a little bit late, I would assume. But having said that, I'm not the expert at GRE. I've not given it. Maybe reach out to other seniors who have given GRE. They'll be able to guide you better. This is what my knowledge of this is. As that's the thing.
Right, yeah. So,
Yeah.
for placement, is competitive coding skills necessary, or web development or such skills are preferred?
For what? For placements.
So basically, I think what he's asking is, for placements, is the competitive coding part of it important, or our projects and everything else that we've done is more beneficial?
See, competitive coding is a very it's very interesting subject, right? Don't do it for if you want to crack placements. Do it because it genuinely interests you. You want to get better at something. Like if you don't do competitive coding and if you just do DSA, right? At the end of the day, like 99.9% of the jobs, they don't require competitive coding. Competitive coding just helps you, they like teaches you multiple things like time constraint, and then effective, like making your code very optimized. So these are the skills which you learn from competitive coding. Having said that, it's not a necessity. Like you can just practice DSA. I did not do competitive coding that much. I've started after I got this thing. Like I started doing competitive coding after I started working. So that's the thing. Competitive coding, undoubtedly very good for you. Like there is no harm to competitive coding. But having said that, it's not mandatory. If you are good at DSA, you that should be good enough for most companies.
Right, but I think some companies that come to our college on campus have a
Yeah.
competitive coding round.
So that's not a that's I don't think that's a competitive coding. That's just like the online assessment, right? In which you have to you are given a certain period of time, you have to solve like two DSA questions or something like that. So that is competitive coding is similar in that sense, but like if you do DSA normally, you can what I'm trying to say is competitive coding is like a high level, like you are developing your mental skill, right? It's like a game. You have to be the best at every so to get the good ranks. So I'm saying that is like not mandatory. You can avoid it. You can just practice DSA in your own sweet time. If you are able to crack DSA questions in like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, that those OAs which come for the campuses, you should be able to crack them with these.
So basically,
That's
for
my
campus placement, DSA is good enough.
DSA is good, but like be
Yeah.
good at DSA, not like and then you are come running after me with a stick, that shouldn't be the case. But yeah,
Right, of course. So, does referral from someone who is at a better position increase our chances? This was a follow up from the FANG question.
okay. Here, I'm assuming you're meaning like someone more senior, right?
Yeah, someone more at a higher position, yeah, hierarchically.
That's actually. I don't think so because referral at the end of the day is just referral. It just puts that this person was referred for this. Referral is like an internal thing. Somebody inside the company is saying this person will be good for a job. Like it's an internal thing. Now, the referral comes from? Obviously, like if it's somebody like very high up, I think that's a different scenario. But most of this thing, like sorry, pardon. So like SD1, SD2, SD3, I think like there carries the same weightage. Again, having said that, I myself don't have that much knowledge on it. Like you can, if you get it from someone more higher up, like good for you, But otherwise, like it's not a drawback. Like it's not like some people are getting it from the CEO and you are getting it from the SD1. That doesn't make a difference. Like don't worry about that. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that was it. Those were the questions. We'll just wait for 2 more minutes. If someone else has a question, they'll put it. Naito, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for taking out the time. It was really sweet of you.
Thank you, Arnav.
Yes,
Thank you
sir.
very much. How are
We
you?
enjoyed it too.
Yes, we enjoyed it. Right.
Thank you, Indra. Thank you, Richard, sir, for having me. It's a great pleasure. And I'm always there. So, like, you can reach out to me LinkedIn. You have my number. Like, anywhere you need me, anytime, I'm always here.
Don't worry, we are surely going to do that. We are never going to leave you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, sir. Yeah. So I'm more than happy to do it, sir. Like, no issues. Mm.
Chalo, good to hear
Okay.
that.
So,
Yeah.
do you have any parting advice for our viewers?
My parting advice would be like placement is just one half of it. Like focus on it. Obviously, have focus on placement, but like don't miss out your entire call. Like thinking placement. Like especially like you're if you're like in the first year or second year, like try to explore things, explore projects, explore different tech stacks, explore different societies. Like have fun and this thing. Like get serious about it. Undoubtedly, get serious about it. But you have time. Like don't miss out on the college experience just because you were busy studying PSA from day one. That's my 2 cents. And like if you need any particular advice, like you can always reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, and like if college invites me to for more such sessions, I'll always be there. Like that's the thing. So like I wish you guys all the best, and like yeah.
Yes, and we
Okay.
also wish you all the best.
All the best to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
And
ma'am.
keep coming
Yes.
back.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye bye.